today's conversation is all about the fallout of the NPP primaries, the parliamentary primaries that concluded over the weekend. It was Saturday afternoon when some people got to know their fates. Among them are some very big surprises. Also, we've got some interesting reactions from those who actually won, who believe that it cost them too much to do so. Too much financially. Let's try and understand what this means in a year like this. Dr. Kwame Asah Asante joins us. He's a senior lecturer, political scientist at the University of Ghana. Doc, good morning to you again. I suppose we could start with your general impressions of how the NPP conducted this particular conference. Generally, how did things go?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I think that I can commend the NPP. If you look at what they did, apart from a few hitches here and there, the election generally went on smoothly, and they were able to get the results that they want. They wanted a peaceful process, and by and large, they got that. You realize that they put in a lot of work, and that was the manifestation of what we saw when everything went on smoothly. But I also concede that there were, some hitches. If you look at Yendi, it's of a problem today, but I'm sure the party mechanisms, if they are alive, they should be able to rise up to the occasion and deal with the issue head on. So I think that so far, so very good in terms of the organization, preparation, and the way the whole process went on.
Right. Now, I'm going to come back to you to ask for your biggest surprise outcome on the day. But of course, Winston is with us. Winston is is on our political desk, so it's good to have you as part of the conversation. But I want to start with you, Winston, when it comes to the surprises on the day. Whose outcome shocked you the most?
Well, I think that the gender minister's loss shocked me, and she lost by 5 votes to Tiakabiru Mahama. I always knew that Gideon Boakye was going to. It was likely he was going to win that, but the margins also. Now these were very huge margins, 444 to 221, and so while you're expecting, Frida Prempeh to lose, you're not expecting her to lose by that huge margin. I wasn't surprised by the Bantama results. I'd already made it clear that Raphael Agyapong's problem was his brother, Kennedy Agyapong. And we saw it because, the party was not going to allow Kennedy Agyapong to surprise them twice. Okay, you did it the first time. And this is a constituency. So, yes, in the presidential elections, you were able to get a lot of votes. But in one constituency where you think that you can pull a surprise because you performed well in that constituency, the party wasn't going to allow that to happen. And so if there's anybody who cost Raphael Agyapong, it's his brother Kennedy Agyapong. And he also believing that that's the way to go when it comes to politics. Of course, I was also shocked by the public enterprises ministers, lost the margin of loss. The winner, the victor, polling over 300 votes, he had about 160 votes. Apart from that, I think, yes, I knew a lot of the persons were going to fall. I didn't expect Katie Hammond to lose. I've always indicated that, unless you're very unpopular, and we've seen some of the MPs lose like that, but, it was going to be difficult for Katie Hammond in a pack of 4 losing, okay? Just as we saw with Andy Apiaku, and I made the same point that in Asante Achim North, for instance, you're not expecting Andy Apiaku to lose because no matter how unpopular he could be, once you have 4 persons trying to unseat one man, what that would mean is that the anti-MP section would vote for these 4. So they split it, and because in these parliamentary primaries, just whoever gets majority wins at the end of the day. That's it. Adwoa was unlucky again. He tried in 2020. He tried this time around. He still was unsuccessful. And that's it for me. So if you look at the constituencies, if you look at those who won, those who lost, these are some of the surprises for me.
Doc, are there any incumbents who you did not expect to lose?
Oh no. What turned out was nothing but a true reflection of what I was expecting. So nothing surprised me. Yes, I was not surprised by the fact that Madam Sarah Adwoa Safo was kicked out. The signs were clear on the wall that as an MP, your basic responsibility to represent your party, not only the party, but the interest of your constituents, the interest of your party, and then you are the link between your party and government. So if at a point in time you had a problem and you could not discuss them, and you took a decision that was not, in tune with what they expected from you, what do you expect? They'll vote you out. The party itself, she had incurred the wrath of the party. So obviously, you are not going to retain you. This will not surprise me.
Now, let's look at some of the regions, particularly...
Before you go on,
yeah.
But Dr. Asah Asante, yes, we all knew Adwoa Safo was going to lose, but for some also it's been the margin. I mean, 328 to 1,194, that was huge, Dr.
That was
Asah
a
Asante.
massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the anger of the people. They express it through election. That they want to tell you that we are not just going to vote you out, but we are going to what? Boot you out if you like. And then we get somebody else. So that they serve as a lesson for future parliamentary hopefuls. That's it.
So could you let me just add something on this Adwoa Safo thing, okay? Look, you can... I'll do this analogy. Michael Kwame Jr. In the past had been seen more like, a man that was out of touch with the constituents. Okay, so he's seen like the man who's up there and then comes to us when he wants a position. Adwoa Safo, even though she was, from a privileged background, homeschooled, gets to the University of Ghana, then goes to law school and scored to the bar, becomes a lawyer. There are people who felt she was easily approachable compared to Michael Kwame Jr. Now, this is the thing. By 2012, the NPP's whole idea of going to court in, the election petition can be traced to Adwoa Safo, and I'll explain. If you remember, in 2012, it was actually Adwoa Safo who first raised the question about her votes in the Dome-Kwabenya constituency. She said, I have evidence to show that I was being cheated, and when I complained, I got all the other votes. So the NPP now began going through all the other constituencies and finding reasons to say we want to go and challenge it. So she became a very popular figure in the party. She tried Dome-Kwabenya in 2007, 2008 primary. She lost to Professor Michael Kwame. So by 2011, she was known within the constituency. Now, for her to move from this person, like at the time we had celebrated as the youngest lawyer in Ghana, and everything, to become so unpopular. One, yes, she caused it. But the other point is, consistently, anytime Adwoa Safo tried to explain why she was away, she told a different story. So, in one instance, her son was sick, and if her child was sick, and if she's, a Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, it should start from her home. And that's why she wasn't there. Then another instance, she's telling us about how, she went to give birth and she lost the child, and, it affected, and then it affected her, and so she couldn't come. So all of these played a major role. But one, because this is also an internal party issue or an internal election, the mere fact that Adwoa Safo was not around for a very long period of time, and it affected the NPP's ability to even pass its own budget, would have cost her.
Yeah. Now, I was going to look at the idea of Adwoa Safo not necessarily being of Michael Kwame not necessarily being voted in, but Adwoa Safo being voted out, and what that means for the general election in 2024 for the biggest constituency in Ghana. Adwoa Safo has won that constituency, convincingly over the past, few elections. But now that there is a new face who wasn't necessarily voted in, but rather won because Adwoa Safo was voted out, from your analysis, both of you, how can that person expect to fare in 2024, Dr. Asah Asante?
Oh, obviously, if the person really want to win, he know how to put his acts together. But first and foremost, there must be a process to engage all the leaders that they have been affected, and then the constituencies themselves, what has happened, and then try to make sure that they patch or make amends to all the differences that they have in their constituency. And then that is the first thing to go. In other words, try and have a unity type of program so that you mend your differences, you come together. You need that one first and foremost. Second, if you look at that constituency, is the biggest one. Issue of infrastructure is a big issue there. If the person really want to maintain, the MPP want to maintain the seats, they should, make sure that infrastructure is fixed in that area and it's fixed well. Apart from that, they must have a very sound strategy to be able to maintain that constituency come 2024 election. Because this time around, I can assure you, NDC is not going to sit down just like that. They're going to put up a great fight. And giving the conditions that we find ourselves in there, if the party really want to win, they need to up their game. Remember, you are talking about a place which is nothing but like a microcosm of this country, with all manner of people inhabiting there. So their needs in terms of economic needs will come up during election. Issue of things that affect this nation will obviously rob off them, and it will form part of their calculation to decide who to give their vote to. Issue of unemployment, a lot of large youth people in there. They will obviously demand their fair share of the cake if there is anything like that in terms of jobs and the rest of them. Remember, it is a place that also houses one of the biggest markets in Ghana, in Accra here. And the economic interests of the people in there must also be paramount to those who want to really take the seat in that constituency. So it's a tall order. But I believe that if Professor Okwe's son is able to organize himself very well, he should be able to, maintain the seat for the party. Otherwise, the story can be anybody's story.
What about you, Churchill? I mean, has Michael Kwame Jr. inherited an uphill task, or has the NPP actually guaranteed their victory in 2024 by replacing Adwoa Safo with Michael Kwame?
Well, I think that the NPP may have done themselves a lot of favor by replacing Adwoa Safo, because if you go through the constituency, and I live in that constituency, and so I know, the dynamics on the ground. You saw a lot of people excited, since Saturday, or the calls I've gotten on Sunday yesterday when I stepped out. Everywhere you've passed, you hear people excited, and I've come across people who, actually sitting at pubs celebrating, and you ask them why. What's she done to you? He says, I'm just happy that Adwoa Safo has been kicked out. And so if Adwoa Safo had won this election, that would have been difficult for the NPP. And Dr. Asah Asante has talked about, the NDC, Eliklim Akurugu, who contested in 2020 with Adwoa Safo. She got about 50,000 of the votes in the constituency. Adwoa Safo polling 75,000. Now, the thing here is this. Michael Kwame enjoys a lot of support from the Hacho areas through Agbogba to Abokobi. That is traditionally the NDC's stronghold. Now, you want to ask yourself a very simple question as we're doing the analysis. Adwoa Safo enjoys a lot of support within the Taifa areas that's hugely populated. Would Michael Kwame Jr. be able to win the support of the people within Taifa, Dominionate, and environs, or he would lose them? Will these people consider the NPP as safe? Yes, that's our party, and so we're going out there to vote for Michael Kwame. The evidence, as you may have seen in other elections, is that there are some people, and so if Akufo-Addo polled 78,000, 3,000 votes more than Adwoa Safo, then it tells you that people also like the NPP itself, and Adwoa Safo under these circumstances actually underperformed compared to President Akufo-Addo. But of course, I've talked about how Akufo-Addo pulled more than 200,000 votes than his parliamentary candidates all put together. Compared to John Mahama's, parliamentary candidates, the NDC's parliamentary candidates getting 30,000 more votes than John Mahama. And so if you look at even just this one, for the fact that Akufo-Addo had more votes than Adwoa Safo, it tells you that NPP is very popular within that constituency. Yeah. So it wouldn't hurt the party so much. But that's also if she doesn't go out there to undermine Michael Quay. So the first thing Michael Quay should be doing right now is to be getting her to actually, get onto the campaign with her. That's very, very important. Because look, this is a point. In 2020, Michael Quay lost the election by 8 votes. Okay? And he also contested in 2011 with Adwoa Safo. So this is not a man who is not known and liked by the people. He's known and liked. He may have just been unsuccessful because Adwoa Safo was more liked than him in the past. So now that Adwoa Safo has actually made it difficult for her, and if you look at the performance from 2011 then to 2020, you can actually make the point that if that improvement was anything to go by, this was coming. Except that now, Adwoa Safo actually causes her own problems, and so the improvement is massive than would have been expected.
Yeah. Let's by the way, if you just joined us, we're talking about the just ended NPP Parliamentary Primaries. Over the weekend, there were shocks and upsets and some predictable outcomes as well. We're discussing them with, of course, Winston from our politics desk and Dr. Kwame Asah Asante, senior lecturer and political scientist at the University of Ghana. Listen, can we talk about Bantama? I mean, what a dramatic lead up to this election, with Kennedy Agyapong flexing his muscles, in a very big way over there. He himself, having decided not to run in his own constituency, put all his attention on getting his relative, his brother, right, Raphael Agyapong, elected in Bantama. Now, this put him up against Francis Asenso Boakye, who, of course, is the Minister for Works and Housing. Before that, he was a Deputy Chief of Staff. And Kennedy Agyapong did what Kennedy Agyapong does. He raked up all the dirt in the hope that this would result in his brother being selected over Francis Asenso Boakye in Bantama. In the end, Asenso Boakye wiped the floor with Raphael Agyapong. 650 votes, 78.22%, to Raphael's 181 votes, making 21.78% of the final valid votes counted. I mean, Dr. Asah Asante, what are the lessons here, if you will, for those who expected this to turn out differently?
The lessons here is that you don't talk too much, but you have to walk the talk and make sure that you put your house in order. You have a strategy that will be able to combat anything that has been put in your way. And then you need effective message that will resonate with the people, dealing with their problems and the rest of them. It's a whole lot. But if you look at what turned out, you can understand that Mr. Asenso Boakye is very strong in that constituency. And he being a minister, I'm sure he has also leveraged on that to build a lot of support in that area. And he has also demonstrated that he is in tune with the people, their interests, and whatever is necessary to lift up the game of that constituency. And that is why you see, by and large, he had that massive support that won him the day.
Now, Bantama is central. It's symbolic. Winston, you kind of saw this coming. But what does this mean in the in the grand scheme of things, going into the 2024 election? How does this draw out the battle lines between Kennedy Agyapong and his own party?
Well, I'm going to answer that question, but I'll just add something to what Dr. Asah Asante said. Presidential elections are different from parliamentary elections. And that's one thing Kennedy Agyapong didn't realize, or his team didn't realize, and even his brother, Raphael Agyapong, didn't realize. if you are contesting a Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, whom you believed was being sponsored by the system, which had become very unpopular in the eyes of your party members, anything you throw at him, they will believe it. So when you say, oh, they are not taking care of you, and then they want to, push somebody just to come and represent their interest, why must you take it? Yeah, they'll buy into it. You get a point, coach. They'll buy into it. They say, oh, yes, and I have been there for the party, and then I bought cars for the party, I did this for the party. But once you get into the local politics, so let's look at the local politics. In Bantama, is Kennedy Agyapong as relevant as Asante Boakye? That's the first question you ask yourself. He's not. Okay? What is it that Kennedy Agyapong has done in Bantama compared to Asante Boakye? Even his brother, who may have done a lot of things, but does it compare to what Asante Boakye has also done? And what is it that, and this is the point, once you go out there and you start talking, you start saying, oh, if you don't vote for me, if you don't vote for my brother, I will expose the party will dare you to expose them. And the party will teach you a lesson by saying, we've had enough of you. And that's why for me, I always knew that Raphael Agyapong was not going to win this election. I tell you what, if Kennedy Agyapong had not gotten involved in this election, we'd be singing a different song today.
Oh, you think he would have won if his brother
We would
hadn't...
have been singing a different song today.
Wow.
Because look, why? Nobody, and why? The president went to Bantama and said, Asenso Yameba. And if the president goes to Bantama, you don't think that other people would, secretly be also going to Bantama to go and campaign for Asante Boakye? If Kennedy had not done what he did, he would not have drawn attention to, Bantama. And people would not have gone in there to support Asante Boakye the way he was supported. Look at what happened. On the day of the election, Raphael Agyapong alleges camping. He reports to the constituency chairman. And the first thing the constituency chairman says, oh, no, it's not true. I mean, Asante was going to church and he asked delegates to join him, and they joined him. When he came to the voting grounds, he got in there, then a bus came full of delegates. The delegates were then ushered in to go and vote. Once they vote, they go and shake hands with Asante Boakye. Now, this is politics. You cannot fight a system as an individual in one constituency and expect to win. It's very difficult sometimes to do that. And Kennedy Agyapong, based on this, how he surprised all of us in the presidential elections, the party was always going to cut him to size. And that's what just happened to him. So this is it. The campaign strategy in the presidential elections was different because you're not contesting Bawumia. Okay, you're not contesting Bawumia or Hamina Akufo-Addo candidate. You're contesting a man who is loved in Bantama, a man who had contested in 2011 and lost to Kokofu. Okay, a man who supported Ochima Boakye to beat Kokofu in 2015, and a man who himself unseated Ochima Boakye in 2020. A man who founded TESCON. That's what one of the things people don't know. Asante Boakye founded TESCON, so he's not a small person within the party. And if he has become even unpopular within his party, that is within his constituency, that is not how you get him out. You don't get him out by threatening your party. Your party will cut you to size.
I wonder, what does this mean? So my question was about Kennedy Agyapong's standing in the party going forward.
Look, this is what is going to happen. Based on Kennedy Agyapong, many have a thinking, he could be the next in line. But politics is not always that simple. That, you're the next in line and that's the end of it. It's not always that simple. So Kennedy Agyapong now has to rethink his strategy. He cannot continue threatening his own party and expect to be continuously relevant. At a point, people will become fed up. Now, this is a party that is seeking to break the eight. The party doesn't want people like Kennedy Agyapong consistently talking about the ills of the party in public. And so he has an opportunity to change his style or become irrelevant in his party. And the party can reduce him to a very irrelevant person in this party if he wants that to happen. So in that case, the party would actually create another millionaire who would support the party in elections. So it will no longer be Kennedy Agyapong saying, no, me talk my party, me to motos, no, me call conference, me come t-shirts. No. Others will do that. And once they do that, your only claim to fame is now lost. So what is your sense of relevance in the party? It's a choice he has to make. If he wants to be relevant, he has to change his strategy. Yeah. He has to go on the grounds and begin campaigning as he's been doing. But this time around, yes, be the voice of the voiceless without insulting your own party.
Now, there were other big upsets. Dr. Gideon Boakye obviously toppling Dr. Frida Prempeh with a shocking gap as well. 444 votes for Dr. Gideon Boakye in Tano North. That was a 66.77% of the vote, with Frida Prempeh only managing 221 votes. That's 33.23%. Now, I say this to put in context the bigger picture of the number of incumbents that were retired across board. And the numbers are surprising. 28
yes,
were retired by the delegates. Dr. Asah Asante, I wonder whether there is a bigger this is a harbinger of some bigger message, that Ghanaians as a whole are going to send to politicians. These guys, walked in with the complete belief that they were going to win. In the Asante region, 8 of them were unseated. 8 incumbents were unseated. In the Greater Accra region, 6 were unseated. These are shockingly large numbers for these regions. What's the big underlying message that you think is being sent here? Do we have Dr. Asah Asante on the line? I think we may have.
Hello,
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes. I'm saying that if you look at Asante region, the fact that they've dropped some of the incumbents, it doesn't mean that much that during election they are going to lose out in those areas. That's what I'm talking about the NPP. No. But the issue is that those people they dropped, in the eyes of the electorate, they are non-performing, and that they believe that they must be dropped in order to give way to those with energy and the drive to champion their interests in Parliament for them. That said, if we look at Greater Accra, that can be a big signal for things to expect, because you are talking about a constituency, unlike Asante, which is traditionally for NPP. For Greater Accra, it's a swing region. So when you have said development, anything can happen, and that can change the dynamics. So it should be an early warning for the NPP if they really, want to maintain their hold in that area to do a lot of work. Because if you look at Southern Ghana, the feeling towards the party in terms of their performance is not that good enough. So they need to up their game and make sure that whatever they've lost in terms of support, they'll be able to regain. That means that the promises they've given to the people, they must honor them. They have to make sure that the economy is sound so that it doesn't threaten the livelihoods of people. And above all, they want to make sure that the large army of youth who are walking the streets of Accra and this region are taken care of. Otherwise, they will gang up during election and then decide their fate in a negative manner.
Yeah. So Isaac Esiama was booted out of Parliament in Echuma-Mponua. Emmanuel Enwere lost for Echuma-Kwabenya South. Akwesi Darko Boateng lost for Bosume Freho. Ama Boateng was out in Jabin. George Obing Techi lost in Manso Nkwanta. Emmanuel Jemfi was kicked out of Odotobri. Intim Augustine Collins lost in Ofinso North, and Eugene Boakye is out for Subin. In the Greater Accra region, we've got Adwoa Safo, of course, kicked out of the seat in Dome-Kwabenya. Sheila Bartels lost in Ablekuma North. Kwesi Ose Frifa Mensah lost in Amasaman. Eve Hansen Norte couldn't make it for Tema Central. Moses Enim lost in Trobu, and Tina Mensah is no longer going to be in the seat for Weja Bawe.
And I think Adanyaso Tumkisi also lost
That's right.
his seat as well. But, this is to be expected. The numbers, you may say, well, and 28 of them, but certainly there's some of the members who should have known. And look, if you look at the case of Frida Prempeh, for instance, you ask the question, was she interested in contesting right from the beginning? Like Joe also said on the set, said on JoyNews on Saturday evening when he joined us. If you are unsure of contesting, and you don't play a role in the polling station elections, don't come. So if you're unsure, and you're told, oh, go and contest, and you say, because of that, I'm going to contest, you will lose. Because people would have actually influenced the delegate list already. And you saw Kofi Ofosu Kansa saying that the album is a family and friends album, but he accepted to contest on that with that album, so he accepts the consequence. The thing for me is this. Going forward, the NPP would have to take a second look at the compilation of its album. Because a lot of the challenges and the problems start from the compilation of the delegates album. Which, well, the truth is that sometimes a lot of things would happen in there. And so you would have the Member of Parliament in most instances leading the compilation of that. And that actually is most of the time in their favor. But sometimes people are able to influence even that. Once you can have a Member of Parliament, but still they would influence it and then unseat you. But it's actually a signal to all the politicians, all the Members of Parliament, that it's not a done deal yet. Of course, in a lot of the safe seats, this could be done deal. But for areas that swing, you must note that the people are monitoring you, they're watching the things you do, and will pay you back at the right time.
Now, one of the things that characterized this weekend's activity was the truly disturbing commentary about the monetization of this voting process. It's something we're going to spend a bit more time on in the coming days, because it is a clear and present danger in our politics. But just for today, I'm interested in how the NPP as a party is managing this situation. Dr. Asah Asante, this thing started some time ago. Just last year, in the Super Delegates Conference, we heard complaints about excessive monetization. We heard Hobson Adwoa, who was campaigning for Alan Chermanting at the time, complaining that he and his team had paid the money to the delegates, but other candidates had paid more. That was his complaint. We saw delegates complaining that if money is not given them, they will not vote. We saw delegates counting money live on television. And there is no lack of evidence that this thing was happening. But the party took no action. They said they were waiting for someone to make a petition. So they waited. Nothing happened. And we now had the conference over the weekend where, surprise, surprise, a winning candidate was complaining about the over monetization of it, saying that it made it unattractive for people like him to run again, and that if the party didn't deal with this over monetization, some of them would never stand again. It is now becoming a part of the identity of these political parties. How do you assess the NPP's management, or lack thereof, of this over monetization of the process?
Kojo, unfortunately, I want to say that they are not ready to fight this canker. They are not. And I will extend it to all political parties. These things go on. People report and they will tell you, provide evidence. Where the evidence are available, they refuse to act on them, because they believe that that is the shortest way to win power, through inducement and the rest of them. But we as a society, we have also acquiesced to this, excuse my language, this nonsense, and it's happening, right? Once you introduce money, they have shortchanged you, because message that you expect them to give you in terms of your needs, in terms of your interests, all will be shoved under the carpet. And that whoever can pay more will carry the day. If we continue on this trajectory, I'm afraid this democracy is going to suffer a lot of setbacks. You will have people that you have voted for, but they will go to parliament, do what they want, or they will have power, they do what they want, and anytime you want to show them exit, they will bring money and cool the people down. Is that the democracy that we are fighting and we are trying to maintain since 1992? Obviously, the answer is no. So we have to continue that advocacy, but telling people that anybody who comes to serve you, politicians are servants, and I can understand how you allow a servant who wants to serve you to bribe you in order to serve you. If we understand it from this perspective, we can make a lot of sense out of that. Anybody who brings anything to you in terms of what resources, in terms of money, whatever, to influence you, that person is not ready to serve the society. These are people who must chase them out of the political system.
But I wonder, is it not in the interest of the political parties themselves to actually check this? Are they not the ultimate losers if money becomes the controlling factor in every single election?
We will continue to play ostrich. Political parties will continue to play ostrich until the thing hit them hard. You remember when people were talking about party macho men, vigilantes and all that, and nobody was interested in dealing with it until they saw the reality. You saw the president running to parliament with a bill in his hand just to get it passed, while he has put up a team that they should look at it and discuss. So that is the same trajectory we are using now. If we don't take care and we allow this thing to, it will bite us heavily. That is the day that all of us will realize that we need to fix this problem once and for all. Because I don't get it. If you really want to serve the people, and instead of what, explaining your programs, your policies, what you have in mind for them to also accept or reject, then go on the route of what, using money to influence them. If that is the way, then election will not be anything difficult at all. But these things are things that the political actors in all the parties, they are not ready to deal with this. They hide behind all manner of excuses. They will tell you, oh, we are giving transport. And you will see, some will give more. And that's where the pain comes in. And I ask myself, why are you in pain? If it is wrong, it is wrong. It doesn't matter the amount of money you give out as transport. You want to give 10 cities as transport. Somebody gives 100. Why are you complaining? He is capable of giving 100. Somebody wants to even give Land Cruiser to cure the problem of transport forever. And you are complaining. Don't start something that you cannot maintain. But we as a society, we have acquiesced. And we allow them. So they realize that that's the easiest way to go. That is why you will see most of the constituencies now, they are up in arms. Looking for one thing or another, demanding their fair share of the national cake. That is how governance ought to be structured. That they come and then serve us and provide our needs and the rest of them. If they bring money, then I can tell you that any human being who has money can also, contest for election and decide to serve society. Is that the case?
That's a poignant question. Now, I think we can quickly, first of all, get an update on the only outstanding constituency in terms of the declaration of results, and that's Yendi, where there were reports of some disturbances. Henry Nana Boakye, of course, is the National Organiser of the NPP. He joins us over the phone. Mr. Boakye, what a pleasure. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Yes, a very busy weekend for you and your team, no doubt.
Very busy, very, very busy.
But Yendi remains outstanding. What on earth went down there?
I'll be able to speak on Yendi matter because what we have requested is a report from, of course, the Electoral Commission. They had exclusive responsibility over the conduct of the elections. And also our regional rep, and then the national rep as well. So we are waiting for this report. They are supposed to come in this morning, and then the leadership will sit on this particular matter, and then we would put that decision out.
Right.
But as it stands now, I'll be unable to comment on that matter without assessing these reports.
Right. Okay, I mean, more on the results in a moment. But also, as you know, the City FM is reporting that one of their journalists was assaulted by no one less than one of the candidates, Aliu Mahama. Has the party received this report, and how are you dealing with it?
Officially, in fact, it's the first time I'm hearing this. And if that is so, it's regrettable. And then we will take the appropriate measures. But then, from all the reports I've gotten, I've not gotten this report that a journalist was manhandled by an aspirant. I've not heard it. But this is very good information. That is why we work effectively, and then we'll collaborate with you. I would write from this interview, we'll find out what exactly happened, and I think the party leadership, because we will not countenance any such conduct where journalists will be manhandled, will be assaulted, because we were we tried our best to have an incident-free elections, and journalists, you are part of this whole exercise. You reported effectively on these matters, so it will not be in our interest for us to look on whilst a journalist is being assaulted. We are not going to do that.
But that's interesting. I mean, can you confirm for us that it's 48 hours after this incident was reported by City FM, that there has been no official mention of this to the executives of the NPP? You have not heard of this until this morning?
I've not. You see, I was assigned to Ashanti region. Ashanti region is very huge. And even the whole of yesterday to also receiving reports from Ashanti region. So, to be sincere, I've not heard it. But as I said, it is very good that I'm hearing from you, and I'm going to follow up afterwards.
Okay, now, Mr. Boakye, let's get back to the Indy. You've talked about something. I just want a bit of clarification. You say the Electoral Commission had the exclusive responsibility of conducting this election, right?
Exactly.
And so, is it the case that only
in fact, it is not as if I'm even putting it out on your outlet, but then it was even contained in the press engagement the General Secretary had in Ashanti region.
Sure.
I think it's point 2 of the protocols.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it the case then that only the Electoral Commission can declare candidates winners?
No, come again. Is it the Electoral Commission?
So is it only the Electoral Commission that can declare candidates as winners?
Oh, the official results must be declared by the Electoral Commission.
Only the Electoral Commission?
Yes, the official result, because the Electoral Commission will start the process at 7 a.m., will go through the entire process, they will do the counting, and then they will put the results out.
So where the Electoral Commission doesn't declare the results, are the results valid?
Where they don't put out the result without any explanation at all.
Where the Electoral Commission doesn't declare or put out the results, would anybody putting out the results make the results valid?
It would depend on the situation. That is why I'm saying for the Yendi matter, we are not seized with the full fact. We have requested for the report from the Electoral Commission, from our regional rep and from our national rep. So it will depend on the scenario. It will depend because there have been instances where I have witnessed you get the Electoral Commission up to, I remember, a clear instance would be the Kumawu by-elections, where the Electoral Commission supervised the primaries. The Electoral Commission declared the results, and then we also came in and then outdoored and declared the winner as well as our candidate.
Yes,
right. So that is why I'm saying that unless I am seized with the full facts, it will be difficult for me to, especially when we are talking about Yendi. So you've asked some specific questions.
Where
these questions?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yes, these questions and responses from me, one way or the other, can affect the matter, especially when we are waiting the reports from these personalities.
So, okay, so just finally on this, where the Electoral Commission has exclusivity, wouldn't anything done outside the Electoral Commission be null and void?
No, that's what I'm saying. It still depends on the scenario, because I've given you a clear instance.
They have exclusivity.
Unless it depends on the particular activity taken by the Electoral Commission and then a particular activity not undertaken by the Electoral Commission. Right.
Okay, well.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Boakye, we're also talking about, yet again, instances and reports of monetization during these elections. Delegates being accused of being too money conscious, winning candidates complaining that it costs them too much to win, and they are no longer interested in running if the party doesn't do something about it. Now, this is not the first time. The Super Delegates Conference, you had Hobson Adwoa declaring on national television that his team had bribed delegates, but other candidates, he believed, bribed them with more money. And that was his complaint. We saw delegates counting money on TV. We saw delegates claiming they will not vote until the money arrives from the candidates. We've seen all of these things happen. We've seen videos of delegates, candidates sharing rice and all other kinds of inducements during these elections. But the party hasn't sanctioned even one member for these things. Do you feel like this situation is slipping out of your control?
No, this situation is rather slipping out of the control of our democracy. And I mean, I do not want us to direct this matter to only the NPP. And I will not come on to your program and then pretend as if some of these things don't happen. Although if you're moving around, I didn't see any, but I will not pretend. But first of all, it is a general issue that must be addressed by all political parties. All political parties. Not only the New Patriotic Party.
So how is your party addressing it? As as National Organiser, how is your party addressing it?
No, yes, we have clear, especially for the footages you are saying, it's out there and then people are saying that they've received money and all of that. Yes, for the party, you have to assess these videos, and then because we frown on monetization of any electoral process. But all that I'm trying to say is that we need to elevate the discussion.
But you haven't assessed these videos, Mr.
No,
Boakye.
what I'm saying is that it is not only us. I will not pretend that it is not happening. But what I'm trying to say is that this canker and the cure, it is not an individual observation. It is supposed to be a national forum on this matter. And how possibly maybe we go about electing our candidates. It happens. When you went.
Oh, it would seem we've lost the connection to the NPP National Organiser. We're going to work to reconnect with him so that we can get more on this. But we still have Dr. Kwame Asah Asante. Winston is still with us here in the studio. Dr. Asah Asante, I wonder how you react to what you heard Henry Nana Boakye saying about the monetization. He says we should call for a national forum.
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Asah Asante, can you hear me? Do we have Nana B back on the line?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic! Thank goodness. I think we lost the signal there. So you were talking about the need for a national forum.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that political parties form a major component of our democracy, and when we were covering the NDC's internal elections, you reported similar instances where people were giving money. I recall during the NDC where delegates were saying that they were giving some money to be given to them from their flag bearer and never got to them, and they were angry, they were not going to vote. There were footages. Right? You go to CPP, although it's a smaller party, they've been accusing people of misappropriating funds and then they receiving some monies from people and then all of that. So what I am saying is that we need to elevate the discussion beyond individual political parties. And then it must be a national conversation. How do we monetize our democracy? And for me, that is so, because we will have this discussion, we finished. And for me, but for one or two instances as a national organizer, this is the best organized internal primaries we've had in our history as a new progressive party. It's been so peaceful. It's very, very tension-free, and then all of that. But yes, the discussion was brought up. A very interesting discussion. And I think that all of us must be interested in how we bring down some of these negative issues regarding our democracy.
So, to clarify, are you saying, as national organizer of the NPP, that you will wait for someone to call a national forum before you penalize those?
No.
Who
Earlier,
have
when you
clearly...
recall that I mentioned that the footage is around, we are going to deal with it as a party.
And I said you haven't done that because the
And I'm
super
saying you are
delegates
going to do it, and you are saying you haven't done that. So wait until you do something about it.
Right.
I'm saying we are going to do something. You haven't done that.
So what's
but
the
we
delay?
Just finished the elections last Saturday.
No, I'm talking about the reports that came even before the elections. You know, during the super delegates conference, Hobson Adoye was actually admitting on TV that his team had bribed delegates and that others bribed them even more. We saw videos of delegates counting money. We saw one of your candidates.
Hobson Adoye is no more part of the party, so I do not wish to comment on that particular matter. I mean, he decided to, part ways with the party. So that example for me is not appropriate.
Right. So you don't think it was worth looking into? That some delegates
No, it was not appropriate because, if you call him, you are calling him as a member of the party. If you call him before the disciplinary committee to explain,
okay,
you are calling him in what capacity?
Okay. What about the other videos of delegates counting money?
That is what I'm saying. We are going to look into it. We just finished the elections. Today is Monday. We are going to look into it.
These are long-standing things. They happen during the delegates conference for the presidential candidates, not even the parliamentary.
No, that is what I'm saying for the president candidate. You've mentioned one person who made these remarks on TV.
Mr.
And I'm telling you that in what capacity are you going to call the person when the person is no longer a member of the party?
Mr. Boakye, that's not the only example I mentioned from the presidential. I also talked about videos of delegates counting money. Delegates declaring that they will not vote.
Unfortunately, I've not seen the videos.
They will not vote.
The delegates counting money is in connection to the recently held primaries. I have not heard the presidential primaries where people were counting money on TV. I have not.
It was live on JoyNews. If you would like us to furnish
kindly
you
send me
with
the footage after our interview. And then
but you're saying you were not aware of this.
I'm not aware of it.
I see. Okay. Well, we did have Peter McMenu on our panel at the time this was shown on TV. He commented on it. He said he expected the party to deal with it. But you're saying that the party is not aware.
No, I've not seen it. So send me the footages you have after our interview, and then we'll look into it.
All right. Well, thank you for the update. Obviously, we're still waiting to find out what happens in Yendi, and we hope you keep us in the loop. That is Henry Nana Boakye. He's the national organizer of the NPP. Dr. Asah Asante, your quick thoughts on this before we wrap things up. Oh, it would seem we don't have Dr. Asah Asante on the line. Well, we thank him though for his time. He is of course a senior lecturer and political scientist at the University of Ghana. Well, fascinating conversation. It was very interesting to hear the update from Nana Boakye, and I, of course, I saw his hesitant response to your question about who can declare results.
The party says the Electoral Commission. So, what happened? Of course, we've seen parties, but so it means that this declaration probably null and void. Well, we are monitoring and we would see what would happen. But you see, Kojo, you asked a question about monetization, and I remember having a conversation with Dr. Edward Mahama years ago. And he talked about how this could kill our democracy. You see, political parties pretend things are not happening when those things don't hurt them. Now, in the past, it didn't hurt when all these parties had, only polling station chairman voting. So at the time, what was really necessary was for you to become a polling station chairman. And then you go and vote. And so they go around, vote, and they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
They could be bought. So the political parties felt it was necessary then to say, okay, don't just reduce it. So in areas, and I remember in the old Mpawa size, they had 149 polling stations at the time. So you had 149, 150 people voting.
Yeah.
So if you had money, you could just give it to them, and that was the end of it. Today, that constituency has about 1,000 people. But this is what it did. It did not stop it, but it increased how much was spent. The feeling was that it was going to stop it. When it was first implemented, there were a lot of casualties, and the feeling was that, we told you that these people were unpopular on the ground, so they couldn't pay. But then eventually people started realizing, okay, so others were influencing the system. And when it started initially, it wasn't, at the time you probably would, to even pay 200 cedis was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what's 150? Today, it is increased to thousands of Ghana cedis. Some pay as huge as 10,000 Ghana cedis per delegate.
Imagine.
Some pay 5,000. One of the constituencies, I saw people who went home. 5,000, 1,000, that's 11,000. They went with tabletop fridges, they went with pieces of cloth and others. And they look forward to those days. They looked forward to Saturday because they knew they were going to make a lot of money.
Cool season.
All their life, they look forward to that day when there's election. And you see, this is the point. If it is not checked today, someday you would have someone engage in an illegality, becoming not just member of parliament, but president of this country.
Indeed.
Why? Because look, if you have money, and CDD has done the research, you have over $100 million, you can contest an election in this country. A presidential elections.
Yep.
And this is the other point. Look, imagine somebody having, say, who's about $1 billion rich in this country, through even corrupt means, through money laundering, whatever, and decides to become president of the country and allocates $500 million to that, he would win.
Of course. Then he will come in and reap back his benefits.
The other challenge with this, what we are pretending we are not aware of, is the fact that over time, when people pay their way into parliament, what business do they have helping you, their constituents, when they become members of parliament or when they become ministers? You're expecting him to actually be your representative by advocating the challenges that you have, advocating the solution to the challenges that you have. But he's not going to do that.
No.
Because he paid you before he got into parliament.
He's giving you your share.
So all he thinks about is that I paid you. Once I paid you, that should be the end of it. And so, look, we can pretend, but this is actually the reality. We're killing our democracy slowly, and that if we do not check this immediately, I've seen one of my friends sending me a message. He sends me a message, and I'll just read the message without mentioning his name. He says, how many event organizers organize programs without providing drinks and food, and in some cases giving T&T to participants? Maybe we can do something about the excesses. First of all, why are the political parties, not the ones And they provide. The political parties actually provide. It is the reason candidates pay to file. It's the reason political parties collect dues.
Yep.
So you're collecting dues, candidates are paying filing fees, so you would be able to use these funds to organize elections. How do you turn around and then come back and say, oh, we still must give them TNT? No. It is the party's responsibility. It is the party's response. So all of a sudden, we are creating a democracy where people go into office. Instead of serving, they lord over you. Because now they get in there and they're looking for the next. So today, why? That man who paid 10,000 per delegate. If the delegates are 500 in his constituency, he spent 5 million Ghana cedis. If a member of parliament salary, let me even say that his salary, okay, is 50,000. It is not 50,000 anyway. Even if the MP salary is 50,000, and the MP 4 years, that amounts to 2.4 million. So where is he going to get the rest of the money from? What is it in Parliament that he's paying so much just to get to Parliament? And how much does he make in return?
Indeed. What is it that he's investing in?
What is it? So you now understand why a lot of people would want to become members of Parliament, and then once they become members of Parliament, they want to be ministers. And once they become ministers, all they're looking at is the next available contract and how they can inflate the contract and get some money. You see, if we don't check this, we will come back again during the next cycle of elections, complain, and people will be fleecing their state because they need money to go and contest the next election. That would be our problem.
Kay has sent me something that's really making me think. He says, our democracy has been going through phases. 1, mild competence. That's phase 1. Phase 2, identity politics, lineage and tribe. Phase 3, patronage and cult heroism. Phase 4, party allegiance. And phase 5, plutocracy. Maybe able work on. Not encouraging. Exactly. Some tweets?
Yes, let's start off with some of the text messages. Says, good morning, SMS team. I'm Jennifer from Dome-Kwabenya constituency. I'm happy the delegates made a good choice by voting out Adwoa Safo. Ghanaians are beginning to grow wiser so far as development and respect is concerned. She showed so much disrespect to the constituents and the NPP party as a whole. Hope this will humble her and teach her a lesson. Kofi Boakye says, Winston, Ken needed his brother to build an empire in Kumasi for his political fortunes. Strategy went bad and he needs to reorganize. Sponsoring his brother was for his personal gain. I mean, strategy went bad big time, very honest with you. It went real bad. He didn't get it right. And Dennis _says, since Adwoa Safo lost, we are okay with the rest. Hey. No, I mean, I told you of how, a lot of people were excited just because Adwoa Safo had lost. Adwoa says the NPP can even select Jesus and Joe Michael and Gabriel. What is written is written. It won't work. At K_Eduama says they elected the right men. They will win a lot of seats. And at Samuel Zando says NPP shouldn't have stressed with the primaries because the party itself won't be selected. And at Papi Solo says the MPs are complaining to many people, yet party leaders pretend this is a perception. I refuse to congratulate them because their so-called victories were bought. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all of your messages. We appreciate them.